I'm going to be working with Castor and protective contact. So essentially in the beginning, I didn't really know what I was doing with protective contact. So this is the first time, and I think it went fairly well, but it's not going to be the best, and the camera is not in the best location either. But I thought it was good because this is the first time, and it was just a big experiment, but it still ended up working. So if it can still work and I'm not doing it perfectly, then there's something good about it. So right now I just asked Castor to come up to the gate here because the rest of the fence is electric. And I don't want him to get shocked. I've turned it off, but I'm just rewarding him for standing parallel to the fence first. Now I'm asking him to target my hand. So unfortunately the camera is cutting off part of it, but at least you can get the gist of it, and he is just bringing his head to my hand, and the goal here is really to fly spray his face. So there's my hand, and then I'll wait, and I kind of made him halfway there. I'm clicking, and then I'm going to go ahead and feed him. So I know I'm not obviously not going to spray him in the face with fly spray. I was going to spray my hand and then put fly spray on him. So that was the plan here. So again, nice little hand target on his forehead. And I'm just kind of preparing him. We've already worked on the hand targeting in the previous videos, and he can target my hand all the way to his shoulder, and he is okay with being touched with the whips pretty much everywhere else. So he's already got all those basics down. So I really wanted to do it in protective contact because he did have moments where he was nervous, and I thought it would be good for him and for me, and it really is. I have nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. So I'm just kind of going over and making sure that he is comfortable with the new setup because I am outside the fence and the gate's going to make some noise and I'm going to move differently than if I'm right next to him. And he's standing quite still. So a key to this is you have to keep reinforcing fairly quickly, because if they lose interest, they're going to leave and then you can't really do anything. So you got to make sure you're feeding um, frequently in little pieces. And with the hay, it's working out really well. I would just be careful if your horse tends to get overexcited. You don't want to click and feed too much and then the horse gets really excited. So the hay works really well, but he's got to stay and maintain that connection here. So that's a beautiful neck target. So that's something to think about while you do use protective contact. I only have done it, well, I was going to say I've only done it with Mustangs, but I've done it with my quarter horse as well. So you can mix it up a little bit, but it does work really well, and you'll see that with Dakota's videos later on, my quarter horse. So um, they they seem more calm and at ease here. Like Castor seemed pretty good. Like it doesn't just provide you some safety, it provides the horse some safety and comfort as well because I'm not right next to them. We always think about ourselves, and see, he's gonna offer the neck target to me on his own. That's very nice. We tend to forget about the horses and that these are prey animals and they are afraid of us and a lot of things we do. I like that he's interacting with me here. He's offering his neck over. That looks great. So I'm just gonna wait for me to cue him. There we go. But I like that he's doing those things. But I think we just forget that they are also afraid, and so it gives them a lot of security to have us not in with them. So I think that's pretty cool. But I'm just reviewing here. He knows all these things already. But it's good to have this different view and different angle of the exercises. Yeah, I like that. I like just that little lean. I don't necessarily want him stepping all the way over with his front feet. I'll take a little step, but I don't really want him to get in the habit of coming. Oh, there, he was a little afraid. I moved too fast for him. That's okay. I'm gonna reward that because he made a nice change afterward. As soon as he kind of jumped and then he was like, oh, I'm okay. So I want to reward that, and that's just really good to do in general, to reward that good decision of them coming back versus them escalating. But I prefer the lean or like a little step versus a big step so that they don't end up kind of coming on top of you and scaring you or whatever it might be. So that's something about the shoulder target, and then if you want to do a hip target later on. I didn't do it with the Mustangs because of this, so but I'm not saying it's bad, but if you want to use it in the future or with your horse, just be sure that they understand the difference and that they do it on cue. And there's a bug attacking me, so just ignore that. I it is important though that when I'm moving around trying to get this bug off, and I'm a little bit more exaggerated just kind of throughout the series with the Mustangs, like this right here where I'm swatting at something, because they were so afraid of me moving differently around them, that it was important that I do these movements and then I do a little bit more than just get the bug away just to desensitize them. So what I'm trying to do here is get closer to his hindquarter, and he's just a little confused. It might be he's not super comfortable with me walking back there. He might be confused because he's only been working on his shoulder. It could be a mixture. And the bugs are not helping me at all because then he's kind of getting pressure and he thinks he might need to yield his hindquarters. So I'm just going to stand over here and he's like, oh, well, I'd like to come back over here to you. And I'm just going to put him back where he's supposed to be. So I'm using my hand target. He does know how to do that. So I'm just kind of backing up, giving him some space to do a nice turn so that he can be nice and parallel to the fence here. So that's what I'm doing here. And he's not quite sure, and they're going to have this in the beginning where they don't want to line up exactly even and close enough to the gate or the fence than you would like. This is better. So I'm going to click and feed him for that. So basically, like the first thing that I teach them is to just stand quietly at default. I'm going to do the same thing at the fence. So he's just going to stand here nicely, and I wanted to work on just me standing kind of at his belly and hindquarter area because I don't spend a lot of time there. And this was, the protective contact was the idea to fix that problem, and then it just kind of spiraled into fixing all kinds of things. So I just thought that was pretty interesting and cool, but I think I had some yellow flies that night because they come out in the evening and they were pretty terrible. But he is handling it quite well because he's kind of moving his head around there, but not too worried about me freaking out over the bug. So that is good because with the Mustangs, they need all the desensitizing they can get. This is actually very nice, and he's being very quiet here, so that looks great. So I just want to take a step back, click, and then come back up to his head, and ideally before he starts taking steps back and leaving. So I could have made this a bit easier and had him stand on a target and hold on a target, but I hadn't figured that one out yet when I did this. So you'll see that later on with Atlas. He stands at a cone and then I can move around him on the panel. But I hadn't gotten that far with this. But that's okay. It works without it too. You just gotta have a little bit better timing. So alright, so I'm just gonna move him back. And luckily he figured out this and generalized him following my hand target to the protected contact. Some might not, so you might have to use an actual target. Just keep that in mind, because we only did a couple sessions with it when I was in his pasture, and he figured it out pretty quickly here, so he is very smart, and it might take your horse a little bit longer than him. So I had to cut out a part because I was halfway on the camera and halfway off the camera, but I just worked on the same thing, was just getting him standing next to the fence, and I did get closer to the hindquarters, but his half of him was out of the shot. So I'm just spraying my hand here, and then I'm gonna have him touch my hand and get a little bit of fly spray on there because the flies were ridiculous today. I'm hold it out. There he touches my hand, and I kind of do a little swipe there and click him. So that was a pretty good first protected contact session.